All righty then. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday. It is the 18th morning of the 12th month in the year of our Lord, 2025, and you have found Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. Thanks for being with us. Day number 4 of the new show. Very excited about it. We've had some great growth in the first 3 days. After we first started this show, I think on Monday, there were like 300 followers on this channel. Now there's about 900, just under 900. So that's about tripling it after 3 days. We need to get that over 1,000. And the only way that happens, because then once it gets to 1,000, then it becomes 1,500 pretty quickly. And then it starts to get pushed out by the algorithms, and we get more and more people watching and being a part of a show that we feel like is very important. A program that is intended to make an impact. We talked to newsmakers just this week alone. The chairman of the House Judiciary Committee was on with us. Yesterday, I had Civil Rights Commissioner Peter Kirsanow on with us. We're going to have Senator Bernie Moreno on. We're going to have a whole lot of people. Today, I'm going to talk to Dr. Everett Piper. We're putting some people who are impactful in the conservative war for the soul of this country on this program, and we need to get the messages out to more and more people. So we need to get that number up. Hopefully get it up over 1,000 by the end of the week, and you can help do that. Please, as always, we tell you to like, follow, share. Like, follow, subscribe, share. It's a four-pronged effort now. Like, follow, subscribe, and share. Share it with other people so that they don't know that we're here. A lot of very important things going on today, as you can see in the rundown. If you checked the description before you came into the show today, we're going to spend some time on the powerful address last night by President Trump. It was extraordinary watching him. We did a live stream. How many people here right now? By the way, if you are just tuning in, get into the chat. The chat last night was great. It wasn't huge. It was because we did that. My friend Brian suggested it like an hour before. How about doing a live stream? What do you mean doing? Okay, why not? We'll do a live stream and then a reaction to what President Trump had to say in his national address last night. It's like, all right, so we did it very, very late, threw a promo up on social media to see if anybody wanted to come, and we had a few hundred people watching, which is good. We had a handful of people in the chat doing their thing, and it was good to see because it was a great experience, honestly, what we watched and then what we're able to share with one another. It was awesome. It really, really was. And we're going to get into that when we get into the top 10 here coming up in a few minutes, or in probably a minute, because the top 10 at 10 is how we're going to lay this whole thing out. I do have, again, a guest coming up, Dr. Everett Piper. If you're new to this show, and that means you didn't even listen to it when I was doing corporate terrestrial radio, for the last several years, I've had a weekly spot with Dr. Everett Piper. You may recall this. Gosh, I'm trying to remember what year. I want to say around 2015, 16, somewhere in that neighborhood. Dr. Everett Piper, who was then the president of Oklahoma Wesleyan University, and I'll do more of this when I get him on at 11 o'clock, an hour from now. But Dr. Piper wrote a letter to his student body at Oklahoma Wesleyan University, basically telling them to grow the freak up, stop being little snowflakey babies with every little, crying about every little microaggression, because this is not a daycare. It's an institution of higher learning. And it was literally the title of his letter to them. This is not a daycare. And it went viral. I mean, within like weeks. Within days, and then within weeks, he was on Fox News. He was on the Today Show. He's all over the place, with his message. It was tremendous, and then it got so much press and so much pub, and people were so impacted by it. He wrote a book called "Not a Daycare," and then he wrote a sequel to that one. Ever since then, I've had him on this program, on my program, about once a week, because we just tap into, he's an evangelical individual, a Protestant. Super God promoting, Christian, believer. And he writes a column weekly for the Washington Times. Anyway, I've been tapped into his brain and his sensibilities for, like I said, almost 10 years. And I want to continue that now that we're doing this show on Rumble instead of on terrestrial radio. So he's going to be with us in about an hour at 11 o'clock. In between now and then, there was a lot of ground to cover, and we are going to share a lot about what happened last night. So we're going to start out with the on-screen graphic top 10 at 10. As it is 10 o'clock-ish, we're going to go and give you the top 10 stories as we see them. Number one, President Trump brought down the House yesterday. From the House, the White House, an absolute tour de force. We were watching it, like I said, doing the live stream, and the people in the chat room were like, I feel like I'm ready to storm a beach right now. Everybody was just so pumped up and fired up because he brought so much energy and so much passion and so much positivity about the direction this country is in, what has changed from the 4 years of Biden and just the first 11 months of new Trump 47, and what's on tap for 2026. Just extraordinary stuff. Unlike I've really ever seen him speak before. Totally out of his character, totally out of his style, and it was amazing. Instead of being, the meandering weave guy where he, goes into one story and then it's like, it's almost like he's got ADHD like I do. I'll chase the squirrel up a tree. I'll start on something and then go somewhere else. The difference being I just end up chasing it and forgetting my way back. Trump always weaves and chases this one and then this one and this one and somehow circles back to the point he was at and then continues. It's just his style. It's what takes a 30-minute speech and makes it a 75-minute speech. He's still going after an hour and 15 minutes because of his meandering into different places. Last night was the polar opposite. He had what should have been probably a 60-minute speech, and he compacted it without any deviation from the script, the teleprompter, and he just hammered point after point after point after point that the American people needed to hear, because they're being gaslit by the left-wing media and by the Democrats into believing things are falling apart and collapsing. It was a phenomenal performance. I'm going to give you some audio and video of it here coming up shortly. But that's number one. Number two is Dan Bongino resigning as deputy director of the FBI. That was a shocker. He's going to work through January or into January, and at whatever point in January he's allowed to do so after just 1 year on the job. I was very excited about the Kash Patel director, Dan Bongino deputy director, tag team Batman and Robin running the FBI, because I trust Bongino's instincts. His career as a Secret Service agent and officer, and then obviously his phenomenally successful podcasting career. He shared so much insight and intelligence about what, it took to combat the deep state, to restore order and integrity to law enforcement at the federal level. I thought, man, this is going to be 4 years of phenomenal success. And he's going to leave after 1 year. Disappointed by that. And also, like everybody else, curious about that. Does he see no direction in the FBI? Is he at odds with Kash Patel? Does he have a different vision for things? Or is it just that he really wants to get back to making a lot of money on his podcast? I don't know what his reason is. We have to talk about that. Number three on the top 10 at 10, Trump promises the warrior dividend. That was part of the speech last night, but it was a huge part that's drawing all kinds of reaction and condemnation from the left. You can't do that. Only Congress can appropriate funding for this, that, or the other thing. So they're flipping out, but Trump made the deal and said, because of the massive revenues generated by Trump tariffs, he's giving an appropriate in 2026, the 250th anniversary of the birth of the country, $1,776 to every American active serviceman. So that means about 1.45 million servicemen and women will receive that to $1,776 bonus, that warrior dividend. It's an extraordinary gesture and one that I absolutely back and love. These men and women put their lives on the line. They literally know that as soon as they enlist, they could be deployed to here, there, or anywhere at any point, and they absolutely deserve this, especially with the revenue coming in. Would I like to see the debt paid down? Sure. Would I like to see lower taxes? Absolutely. But we already have the lowest taxes we've had in several decades, thanks to the Trump jobs and tax cut that is now permanent because of the one big beautiful bill. But if we're going to spend money, I would rather have it spent on our servicemen and women rather than sending it overseas by way of USAID to some foreign country for some bull crap program that we have no interest in whatsoever. So that's a big deal. We'll hit that. Number 4, the Brown University shooter is still on the loose after 5 days. And again, the Keystone cops in charge in Providence, Rhode Island, between the Brown University police and the Providence police and the mayor of Providence, absolute cluster. You know what? An absolute mess. They don't have dash cams in the police cars. They don't have cameras in parts of the buildings. A lot of people are speculating it's because Providence is a sanctuary city and they didn't want cameras to be available to help ICE, capture the movements of illegal aliens that may be being sought. But for whatever reason, they chose to put the people, and in this case, the students at Brown, at risk. And it is unacceptable and inexcusable. Number 5, how the House passed a bill to prosecute doctors and parents for sex changes on kids. Over 200 Democrats voted against it. Over 200 Democrats voted to chop little children up when they're not old enough to decide if they want a tattoo because it's a permanent scar on their body. They're not allowed to choose to get a tattoo because they're not smart enough and not mature enough. But parents and doctors want to say, yeah, they know what they are. They're smart enough and mature enough to know that they want their junk chopped off, or that they want fake breasts glued to their chests, or that they want to harvest arm meat to create a fake penis to surgically attach where their vagina was. The idea that these Frankensteinian experiments on children, which would have made Dr. Joseph Mengele blush and be turned away in horror at some of the crap that they do to these kids, should already have been illegal. The idea that we have to pass a bill now to say you can prosecute parents and doctors who do it to their kids, I can't believe that this is even a discussion. 200 Democrats said, yeah, keep chopping them. We'll get into that. Piers Morgan, number 6, took it to Candace Owens, which I'm glad to see. Anybody who takes down her evil soul-selling self for what she is doing to Charlie Kirk's memory and to Turning Point USA, Piers Morgan took her apart. I've got a clip of that for you. Number 7, the healthcare bill passed after the GOP Obamacare rebellion. 4 members of the House signed and voted on the discharge petition to get a vote on the Democrats' 3-year extension with no reforms to the Obamacare subsidies and the Biden enhanced subsidies for Obamacare. And Mike Johnson was able to eke out a victory. They defeated that. The discharge petition passed, but they defeated that. And he got a bill passed that's a little bit weaker. But the real issue is that there is a little bit of a splintering off of some of the very tiny, tiny majority Republicans in the House when it comes to the healthcare issue that, of course, is going to reach a boiling point January 1, when everybody's healthcare premiums skyrocket because of Obamacare doing exactly what it was intended to do. Never make healthcare affordable. The Affordable Care Act was a name. It was a lie, just like the Inflation Reduction Act was a lie. It was never meant to be affordable. It was meant to be unaffordable to the point where people got really, really furious and said, government, save us. And they, oh, okay. And here we'll come with single-payer healthcare and Medicare for all, which I'll add on to in a moment. That was number 7. Number 8 is a New York college has approved a furry student club, as apparently the trend is continuing to rage across campuses. That's why it's such a dangerous place for kids to be, is on college campuses anymore. The furry clubs. It's bad enough that we're telling people, yeah, we affirm you if you're a male and you think you're a female. We affirm you if you're a male who thinks you're a female, you thinks you're a male. We affirm you if you are a male who doesn't know what you are, so you consider yourself non-binary, not male or female. We'll affirm all of that. And we've taken it so far to the point where, as you know, you really aren't human. You're a different species. You're an animal. You have an animal spirit. We affirm that too. They're literally doing this on college campuses. They were doing this in elementary schools, for crying out loud, during the course of the last few years. But now they're literally letting grown adult 18-year-old plus kids dress and act like animals. Number 9, another U.S. lethal narco terrorist boat strike. What makes this one unique? Why is this even in the top 10 at 10? Simple. This one wasn't in the Caribbean. This one was in the Pacific. That's right. They, in the Eastern Pacific, they vaporized a known or suspected, and they better be known, because if it's only suspected, they got problems. But I'm sure they acted only on the intelligence that they had. But another narco boat, and this is expanding the protection of all borders and shorelines and ports of the United States of America to keep foreign drugs out and to stop them from killing Americans. I've got no problem with it. And number 10. This one kind of ties back to what I was talking about at number 7 with the healthcare bill. A Democrat leader, ranking member in a prominent committee, has declared that Republicans are the ones who are responsible for Obamacare. Republicans are the reasons why Obamacare is here. Never mind the fact that 15 years ago, Obama got that passed with 0 Republican votes, and then got the subsidies passed with 0 Republican votes, then got the subsidies extended under Biden with 0 Republican votes. This is 100% a Democrat failure and monstrosity, and they want you to believe, again, gaslighting you into thinking that the Republicans, I should say, are responsible for the Unaffordable Care Act. So there you have it. That's your top 10 at 10. I want to get into, and by the way, welcome to the chat. Let me peek at the Rumble page here. I have not even logged on to it yet. I'm sorry to say. But if you're in the chat, welcome. And it looks like there's a handful of people there now. I would like to see that grow. If you're watching, and a little bit light today so far in the start, with about 170 or so people watching right now. But if you are watching, be active. I'd like to read the comments, and I'd like to see what people have to say to one another in the chat room. So make sure you do that. And also make sure when you're in the chat, if you feel the urge, if you like something you hear and you like what we're doing, don't forget to hit that Rumble rant button down at the bottom and donate to keep the program growing and running. All right, what I want to bring to you now, as promised, is a little bit of the tour de force. I keep coming back to that as what I want to call this, because what President Trump did yesterday, last night, was phenomenal. And we did a live reaction video to it, as I pointed out. And what I actually had to pause the president when he was talking, because I just had to say, man, I got to catch my breath. I am only watching. I am not speaking. I'm not exerting myself. He's doing all the exertion at the age of 79, and I was tired for him. But he just kept on going at breakneck speed, hammering home one fact that just completely disproved every narrative the left has tried to gaslight you with over the course of these first 11 months. And like I said, he brought it home. Let's enjoy some of it.
Our Treasury for trillions of dollars, driving up prices and everything at levels never seen before. I am bringing those high prices down and bringing them down very fast. Let's look at the facts. Under the Biden administration, car prices rose 22%, and in many states, 30% or more. Gasoline rose 30 to 50%. Hotel rates rose 37%. Airfares rose 31%. Now, under our leadership, they are all coming down and coming down fast. Democrat politicians also sent the cost of groceries soaring, but we are solving that too. The price of a Thanksgiving turkey was down 33% compared to the Biden last year. The price of eggs is down 82% since March, and everything else is falling rapidly. And it's not done yet, but boy, are we making progress. Nobody can believe what's going on. Here are just some of the efforts that we have underway. You will see in your wallets and bank accounts in the new year. After years of record-setting falling incomes, our policies are boosting take-home pay at a historic pace. Under Biden, real wages plummeted by $3,000. Under Trump, the typical factory worker has seen a wage increase of $1,300. For construction workers, it's $1,800. For miners, we're bringing back clean, beautiful coal. It's $3,300. And for the first time in years, wages are rising much faster than inflation. Remember that. The wages, just look at it. Wages are going up much faster than inflation. How big is that? Very importantly, there are more people working today than at any time in American history, and 100% of all jobs created since I took office have been in the private sector. Think of that. 100% of all jobs have been in the private sector rather than government, which is the only way to make a country powerful and great. This historic trend will continue. Already, I've secured a record-breaking $18 trillion of investment into the United States, which means jobs, wage increases, growth, factory openings, and far greater national security. Much of this success has been accomplished by tariffs.
All right, so that's a little bit of President Trump yesterday. And again, what made this amazing, I'm going to play probably 3 or 4 clips here, and you need to hear them all in all seriousness. But what I want to share with you, and let me get the screen back to something normal again as we continue to advance the learning curve here. There we go. What President Trump had to say last night wasn't all about the economy. What he just said there, though, would have been phenomenal. Wages under Biden shrunk. Costs rose. In 11 months, wages under Trump are rising and costs are dropping. Are they dropping fast enough? No. Are they dropping in every single sector of the economy? No. But are they dropping? Yes, 100%. You know that. And I talked about this yesterday. We'll continue to repeat it. 5-year average of inflation, 4-year average of inflation under Biden was 5%. Right now, 11 months in, under Trump, it's 2.7%. So clearly it is getting better. Things are getting better. And it's simply a matter of letting the one big beautiful bill impacts that are going to happen in 2026 take effect. And they are going to be huge. This is what I want to share with you now is, if you'll bear with me as I try to load all of this up. But what I want to share with you now is the specifics about what President Trump has promised for our military. And this is just, this is why I think so many people, so many members of the military love him, and why I think so many Americans do and should as well. So here's President Trump talking about, and let's bring it, there he is, talking about this warrior dividend.
Along with the just passed One Big Beautiful Bill, tonight I am also proud to announce that more than 1,450,000, think of this, 1,450,000 military service members will receive a special, we call warrior dividend before Christmas, a warrior dividend. In honor of our nation's founding in 1776, we are sending every soldier $1,776. Think of that. And the checks are already on the way. Nobody understood that one until about 30 minutes ago. We made a lot more money along with the just passed One Big Beautiful Bill. Tonight, I am also proud to announce that more than 1,450,000.
Okay, it's going again. So let me pause that there. And this is what I want to say about that first and foremost. You ready for this? Where did you go? Here we go.
Can you dig it?
I made it happen last night during the chat and the live stream of the Trump speech. Somebody said, you better play a Can You Dig It after this, because that is what I've been doing on radio for 28 years. You better play it. It's whenever something is amazing, somebody does something phenomenal, I give it a Can You Dig It. It's just an iconic thing. And I couldn't play it. I didn't have it. I didn't have access to it. So I went ahead last night or this morning or whatever it was, and I threw that in there. So it's now available whenever it is needed. We will dig it. And I do believe that is absolutely needed. What President Trump did there is terrific. And I just think this is what our soldiers deserve. And, you know, the left is screaming, you can't do that. It's not your money. The government, or excuse me, the Congress has to approve of it, and so on and so forth. And yeah, I know that. I get it. But guess what? They will approve of it and they will sign off on it. We're heading into the midterm elections. Every single seat is up for grabs in the House. Every single one of them. You think they're going to vote no on paying our military a bonus? Seriously, with money and revenue generated by Trump's tariffs, you really think that's what they're going to do? I think that would be a very bad idea for anybody who is running for re-election. Okay, a little bit more from the president last night. And again, he just went from one to the other at breakneck speed with no breaks, no meandering, no weave, et cetera, et cetera. He just said what needed to be said, including
taking on the gigantic health insurance companies that have gotten rich on billions of dollars of money that should go directly to the people. The money should go to the people. That's you. So they can buy their own health insurance, which will give far better benefits at much lower cost. It will be far better health insurance. The current Unaffordable Care Act was created to make insurance companies rich. It was bad health care at much too high a cost. And you see that now in the steep increase in premiums being demanded by the Democrats, and they are demanding those increases, and it's their fault. It is not the Republicans' fault. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the Unaffordable Care Act, and everybody knew it. Again, I want the money to go directly to the people so you can buy your own health care. You'll get much better health care at a much lower price. The only losers will be insurance companies that have gotten rich and the Democrat Party, which is totally controlled by those same insurance companies. They will not be happy, but that's okay with me because you, the people, are finally going to be getting great health care at a lower cost.
And that's exactly what Obamacare promised to do, but of course was never intended to do. It was promised to do because that's what you had to do to sell it. I remember Obama specifically saying, you know, what you pay for your cable television bill, that soon will be what you pay for your healthcare premiums. You know, I mean, in other words, it's going to be, wow. I mean, and that's what, of course, generated all of the excitement and the enthusiasm. Republicans knew it was a lie. They knew it was A, not possible, and B, never the intention. That's why they didn't vote for it, because they knew what was going to happen to the premiums. And they knew that the health insurance companies were going to get rich off of this, and the American people were going to be the ones paying the freight. And that's why they didn't support it. So here's President Trump last night laying it all out. The insurance companies are the ones ripping you off. The insurance companies are the ones that benefit the most from Obamacare. Rather than having subsidies from you, the taxpayer, go to those wealthy insurance executives, how about that money goes right into your pocket so you can actually start your own healthcare savings account and pay for your needs and your medical care that way? Now, it is not simple in any way, shape, or form. Healthcare never is. But between transparent pricing, which has to happen, and the healthcare savings accounts, people can see how much it will cost for this, and this, and they can plan accordingly, as opposed to the model now, which I'm gonna meander here a little bit. I'm gonna go off on a tangent here. Is there, to your knowledge, any other service or product that is sold in the American marketplace that you don't find out how much it costs until you've already gotten it? Is there anything else? If I want to, would you ever buy a car without them telling you first what the price is going to be? Can you imagine going into a car store and say, yeah, okay, we can give you this one over here. Great. Go on in, hop on in, and drive home. And then a few days later, you get the bill. This is what it cost you for that car. This is what it cost for the salesman to write it up for you. This is what it cost for the guy who delivered it. You know, all of these different transitory costs. Would that work? You can't buy a phone, a smartphone. You ever walk into an iPhone or an Apple store or something and say, I want to buy one of these phones? Oh, we got you covered. Yeah, this one has got this bell, this whistle, this feature, this AI. It's phenomenal. There you go. We'll package it up for you, put it in a little bow, put a little bow on it and send you home with it. And then a few days later, you get the bill. Oh, well, here's what you owe us for that iPhone. $2,000? What the hell? Well, you know, it's $1,050 for the phone, but then there's a charge for the salesperson. There's a charge for the wrap person. There's a charge for the delivery person. There's a charge for the, software person, and all the way down the line. That there's not a thing. Unless I'm mistaken, put it in the chat if I'm wrong. Is there something other than medical care, health care, that you can buy without ever knowing what it costs until after it's all done? And then they say, if you don't pay, we take you to court. And we'll garnish your wages to make you pay for it. There's no other service either. Think about services. You ever go sit down in a barber's chair or at a salon and say, do me up? And they send you home, and then a few days later, they send you the bill, $250. All you did was cut my hair. What else? What other services? Yeah, did you ever sign up for a lawn service? You know, the companies that come around and spray all of the chemicals on your grass to make it green in the summertime and fight all of that crabgrass and nut sedge and all the other crap. And you ever sign up for one and they don't tell you until after they provided the services? Now you owe us $1,700. Wait, $1,700? What? There's no sale that you can, or transaction that you can make where they don't tell you up front what you're paying for, except healthcare. It's the biggest scam of all time. And the insurance companies love it. They absolutely love it. And so do the providers. They're the ones who make money hand over fist. These subsidies coming to the insurance companies because the providers can jack up these costs to whatever they want. People don't know about it until it's too late. So everybody gets rich off of this thing except for you and me, the actual citizens, the people of this country who need healthcare. We're willing to buy it. We don't want socialized healthcare. We don't want government-run healthcare. But we need to know what it's going to cost up front. And we need to make sure that if there are subsidies coming from the government to help us pay for it, it comes to us, not to the insurance companies. That's what Trump said last night. And that pissed off Democrats as much as anything else he said. And he did. He said a lot. Like I said, he covered energy. He covered the border. He covered military and national security. He covered, obviously, the economy. He covered wage growth, and so on and so forth. And he did it all back to back to back to back without any meandering, any weaving, any breaks, just 22 minutes of powerful, in-your-face truth. So let me see if I can share this one with you now. Now, this is how he wrapped it up, actually. This is how he wrapped it up. And again, it just sends the Democrats into spasms of TDS. So this is the conclusion of the speech last. Uh-oh. Hold on a second.
I'm also taking on the gigantic health insurance.
Nope, that's the same one we just heard. Sorry. Like I said, we're trying to navigate through all of this. Let me see if I can pull up the correct one for you. Where is the wrap? Yeah, this is the wrap right here. So let's, let us do this if we can. And we may not be on the right screen. All right, trying to make this happen. Hold on a second here. We'll we've got to go back here to share the proper screen for you. We got a little bit off track there, so we'll do that. And we'll bring it up here. And hopefully now you can see the screen and we can hear the president's important closing message.
Very simple. We are making America great
Except that you
again.
can't hear that yet either. All right, well, this is what happens when you're trying to juggle chainsaws. This is just the way that it goes. It's the nature of the beast.
Tonight, after 11 months,
We're
our
not
border
able
is
to make
secure.
you hear that.
Inflation is
All right.
stopped.
Well,
Wages
so
are up.
at any rate,
Prices
what
are
the
down.
president
Our nation is strong.
talked about in his
America
close.
is respected.
There we go. At least you got me now. What the president talked about in his close last night was the future in 2026, the 2026 economic boom that is coming. He said after 11 months, think of this, the border is secure, inflation is stopped, wages are up. Now, inflation, again, it's still stubborn in some sectors. It's not like all inflation everywhere has gone down, but it's down to 2.7% from the 5% average it was under Biden. So that matters when he says inflation is stopped. Wages are up. Prices are down. Our nation is strong. America is respected again. And our country is back stronger than ever before. And I'm quoting his transcript now. We're poised for an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen. Soon we will host the World Cup and the Olympics. And then here's the little flex, both of which I got, he said. But most importantly, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. There could be no more fitting tribute to this epic milestone than to complete the comeback of America that began just 1 year ago. When the world looks at us next year, let them see a nation that is loyal to its citizens, faithful to its identity, certain to its destiny, and the envy of the entire globe. We are respected again like we have never been respected before. To each and every one of you, have a Merry Christmas. And I love that too. He wrapped it with Merry Christmas. I don't think any Jewish people in this country are going to take offense to that because he didn't say a happy Hanukkah or happy holidays. Deal with it. It's Christmas time in America. And our Jewish friends know that too, and we respect their celebrations as well. But it is Christmas time in America. We're a Judeo-Christian nation, and we were founded indeed on biblical and Christian principles. And he wrapped it that way as well, which was huge. So that's just a little bit of a taste of last night's event. And as I said, and if you were part of the live stream last night when we went ahead and put this on and reacted to it in real time, you saw the pace that I'm talking about here. Have you ever seen a 79-year-old look and sound like that? You remember what Biden was like at 79 and 80 and 81? He aged like in dog years ever since he became president. Seriously, he got like 7 years older with each year that went by, and he got slower and slower and slower. And Donald Trump, I swear, I brought this up last night in the post speech chat. He's like a cyborg. He's like, it's like there's the orange skin that he colors orange over this metallic exoskeleton. What would it be? Endo or ectoskeleton? Anyway, he's a machine. He just doesn't need rest. He keeps a schedule that honestly men 20 years his junior couldn't keep, and he just continues to roll on. And I have such deep respect for that. And what I also had deep respect for yesterday is he didn't do the name calling thing. He didn't call out his enemies. He didn't call out, Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi or AOC or any of the nut jobs. He didn't turn it into a, support us in the 2026 midterms because the Democrats are losers. He said, support us in 2026 because of what we've done in 2025. Here's the rundown. And he didn't just speak. He came with visual aids. He came with charts and graphs, and it showed the actual inflationary spike during the 4 years of Biden and where the actual line is now in the first 11 months of Trump. And actually, it showed the low, just to kind of be really clear about this, it showed the low, really low inflation for the first 4 years of Trump 45. Then it showed the mountain spike under Biden, and now it's back down lower, not as low as the first time. But he came prepared with those things. He came prepared with statistics and numbers that are real and factual and sourced. And what he brought forth was positivity. And rather than just like name calling and negativity, don't support them because they suck. Support us because we're awesome. Support us in 2027 because of what we, or 2026, because of what we did here in 2025 in a very short period of time. That's what it was all about last night. And I just take great comfort in that. We're all nervous about the midterms. Being honest, we're all nervous about the midterms. Not because of what happened in the off-year elections last month, not because a bunch of blue cities and states voted for blue candidates like they're supposed to, but we're nervous because of history. Historically, the president in power loses the Congress at his first midterms. A new president in power. President takes over, and then 2 years later, the other party pendulum swings back to take over the Congress. It's kind of how the balance, has played out through the years, and that historic. I want to say like 95% of the time, that's the way it has worked. So from the mountain to climb here is enormous to buck that historical trend. Even that's regardless of which party. A Democrat president usually loses the Congress his first midterm election to the Republicans. A Republican president usually loses the Congress to a Democrat, in his first midterm elections. So that's the historical challenge, and that's why most of us are nervous. But I got to tell you, what I heard last night made me feel like what has happened in the first 11 months, and he listed all of those accomplishments, is going to get put on an exponential level of increase when the big, beautiful bill kicks in. All of the parts of the big, beautiful bill that were intended for economic growth and to give more opportunity and more of a chance for the average working man and woman on Main Street, when those things kick in, the economy is going to soar. You get a soaring economy with a declining federal interest rate, you get more affordability. You get more people in houses. You get more people out of apartments. You get more people having the ability to, plan for vacations and to actually save for their 529 or their, 401ks or whatever. It's coming, and it's already better. It's already better now than it was during any of the 4 years of Biden. And we haven't even kicked in with the one big beautiful bill yet. And once that starts to be realized in January and in February, I could show you some of the coverage of the speech last night by the Democrats, talking about, Trump tells America, I'm sorry, this is actually the New York Post. This is positive. Trump tells America, I'm fixing Biden's mess in chart-filled primetime address. It's true. He is. There's no question about that. He was absolutely saying that I'm fixing Biden's mess. And Biden absolutely did create a mess. But I'm looking for a couple of the other headlines that the AP put out there. Basically, Trump gives partisan address and address to the nation. Media criticism over partisan tone of Trump address. I'm trying to find the AP. Trump gives a partisan primetime address insisting the economy is stronger than many voters feel. That's the one I was looking for. And I could share that with you, but I'm having a problem with the share button at the moment, so don't sweat it. Trump gives partisan primetime address insisting the economy is stronger than voters feel. And that is key, and that is crucial. The American people can be gaslit, right? There's no question about it. We tend to believe things that we see on television. We tend to believe things that traditionally trusted sources tell us. And if the mainstream traditional media is telling the American people they can't afford their grocery bills, Americans will look subconsciously, even with a jaded eye, at their grocery bill and saying, yeah, this should be lower. They won't have the ability nor the desire to go back and look for the grocery bill from 2022 and 2023, when Biden's 9% inflation and then 7 and 8% inflation were jacking up the cost of everything. They won't have the ability because nobody saves it. And it's just a matter of how you feel. You're getting screwed right now. Affordability is at a crisis level. And subconsciously, people hear it often enough from the television, screaming at them from CBS, NBC, ABC, MSNBC, and CNN. And if you happen to still open an actual newspaper or subscribe to their online, partners, the same message, you start to feel, man, boy, oh boy, hard times are coming. And that it becomes self-fulfilling. Because what do when you believe that economic hard times are coming? You start saying we got to be a little bit more judicious with our spending. We got to save a little bit more. Hard times are coming. The media told me so. The media told me that we're in an affordability crisis. We can't afford stuff now. That's what the TV said. That's what the social media platform said. That's what the newspaper said. And so when people hear the hard times are coming, they start to store a little bit more away. You got to save money because the hard times are coming. And when they store a little bit more money away, what happens? Well, they're not spending it at the local shops, at the grocery store, at the hardware store, at the restaurants. And then what happens to those restaurant owners, hardware store owners, grocery owners that are already operating on really, really razor-thin profits? Well, they start to lose money. When they start to lose money, they start laying people off, right? And when they start laying people off, what do those people who got laid off say? They, boy, oh boy, those hard times that were coming sure are here. Lost my job. Don't know what I'm going to do now. Going to have to, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's why they get out there and give you all of this negativity. Hard times are coming is an absolute recipe for hard times arriving. People stop spending, businesses start to close, they start to lose, the dress shop that was thinking about expanding in 2026 because they're doing so well, finds out that hard times are coming because the television told them so. Well, we're going to have to cancel that expansion of the dress shop. And guess what? Now that impacts not only the dress shop workers who might be laid off, but that construction guy who was going to build do the build out and the expansion of the dress shop. Well, he lost that contract. That's gone. And the suppliers who sell him nails and wood and drywall and conduit and everything else, well, they lost that sale to that contractor who's not building that dress shop owner, that expansion. Hard times came for them too. And then they got to lay people off. This is what they're doing. They're trying to tell you that the sky is falling so that the sky falls. What's the best way for these asses to get back in power in November of 2026? Have the country freaking collapse. That's the best way. It's the only way for them to regain power. If Trump fixes the economy for the second time, he did it in 2016 through 2020, COVID notwithstanding. If Trump fixes the economy again, the Republicans will buck that historical trend of losing the Congress when their president has just taken over. They'll buck that trend and the American people will be happy. Hard times won't be here. Prosperous times will be here. Good times will be here. So that's why Trump needed to do what he did last night. He got out there in front of the nation in the Oval Office and said, stop listening to these jackwagons telling you that we have an affordability crisis. Things are cheaper now on balance and on average, not every single item. They cherry pick what items they want to feature and focus on. They'll focus on eggs as long as it's going to make them, eggs are more expensive and they're going to blame it on the Republican Congress. Then eggs go down. Oh yeah, but coffee is really, really high. What happens when coffee goes down? They cherry pick that crap in order to try to make people believe there is an affordability crisis, an inflation crisis, an economic crisis, and Trump and the Republicans are responsible. The only way they succeed in November of next year is if the country falls to crap in this coming year. So that's why Trump had to get out there and say, whoa, hard times are not coming. Look at exhibits A, B, C, D, and all the way through G, or all the way through Z, quite frankly. Look at all of the evidence. And we haven't even kicked in with the One Big Beautiful Bill's principal impacts yet. Wait until you see what life is like for you then. Hard times are not coming. Good times are coming. You know what happens when people think that good times are coming? When you are told and you have evidence that good times are coming, that dress shop maker or that dress shop owner goes through with the expansion. Let's build. That real estate developer says, let's go and let's start putting some houses up on these properties. They're going to sell because good times are coming. And that gets the construction crew out there and that gets the suppliers out there. And they're all making more money. And the construction workers out there building the new houses on the real estate developers' new property. And they're bringing home big paychecks. And guess what? Guess what happens after January 1st? They're working overtime to get it done. And that's not taxed. That's straight income. And that means they can spend it on what? Everything. They can save it if they want for their 401ks and their 529s for their kids' educations. Or they can buy that new car they were thinking about buying, which increases the profitability for them, for the dealer and the manufacturer and the Ford line worker. When people believe prosperous times are coming, people act like prosperous times are here. They spend, and that grows the economy for everybody. That's why Trump had to come out there last night and with receipts, with sources, with charts, kill this notion that hard times are coming, that affordability is the problem. Kill that. Tell the truth. Good times are coming because we've done it before. 2017, 2018, and 2019, all the way up until the COVID year, the Trump economy was phenomenal. The growth was incredible. The wages rose. The inflation fell. Everything was working. And now it is working again for the first 11 months. And they're trying desperately to convince you, no, it's all coming apart. Because if they don't win in 2026, the growth we're going to see from the One Big Beautiful Bill in 26 is going to go on steroids in 27. and it's going to be increased even more in 28 and November of 2028. The baton will be passed to J.D. Vance or to Marco Rubio, probably one of those two guys. Maybe Ron DeSantis, the best governor in America probably in the last 20 years or more. Maybe he's still a factor, but it gets passed to somebody who will carry on America first, will carry on MAGA, carry on, the low taxes that lead to the prosperity and the bigger growing economy and the stock market booms and everything else. I know I'm kind of delineating a lot from one night's speech, but it needs to be said and it needs to be amplified, which is why we need to grow this channel. We're 4 days old. This channel is 4 days old. Like I said, we got 862 followers, it looks like right now, which is nice because we had 300 when it started. So almost triple that. It needs to grow bigger because we need to get this message out to more people. And we can't do it without, like I said, more reach. Like, follow, subscribe, and share the channel. And like I've also said, the way the algorithms work, they'll try to limit you if the only time people are watching is when it's live. Don't let that happen. When we're done, when I sign off, find another video or just replay today's show, replay yesterday's show, replay the one after that. Hours spent listening on Rumble, on YouTube, on Facebook, they all matter in terms of the reach and the more people they will push this out to so that the messaging that Trump gave last night gets amplified by a factor of Lord only knows how much. That's what it's all about. And so we need to reach. And also, once again, hit the tip jars if you can. They're all listed in the description on the channel. And there's a few of them posted in the crawl as well. So hit the tip jars. If you're able to, hit the Rumble rants at the bottom if you're in the chat room. Every single little bit helps. Remember, we are not corporate. We are Patriot funded. And the only way this message gets out is if you help us make that happen. All right. Coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to be talking with our friend, my friend, a guy that I have been doing a weekly hit with for, it's got to be going on 10 years. I can't remember exactly when Not a Daycare was written. Oh, wait a minute. I think my guy, my backstage partner in crime, Brian, is giving me a lot of information here. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. It was 2015. Dr. Everett Piper, then president of Oklahoma Wesleyan University, wrote and posted his famous open letter and blog post titled, "This is not a daycare, it's a university," in late November 2015. It went viral around November 30th to December 1st. From the letter, let's see. After a student complained that a chapel sermon on love from 1 Corinthians 13 made him feel victimized and guilty, Piper told the student body that the college is not a safe space for coddling feelings or narcissism. It's a place to learn personal responsibility, to confront guilt through repentance, not blaming others, and deal with challenging ideas. He essentially said, stop being self-absorbed, grow up, or go somewhere else. This is a university, not a daycare. The post criticized broader campus trends like demands for safe spaces, later inspiring his 2017 book called Not a Daycare. And his 2021 follow-up, the sequel, Grow Up, is on the, he started coming on with me, I think, when Not a Daycare was published, not the original letter, the book after the fact. So it was around 2016 or 17, he started coming on with me. So that means nearly 10 years I've been talking to Dr. Everett Piper, and he's going to be my guest coming up here at the top of the hour, and we have a lot to chew on with Dr. Piper. I'm also going to get into the chat. In fact, let me have a brief look see here and see what people are talking about before we get to the top. Yeah, love that too. T-Bach4 says, love the shirt, Bob. Hillsdale is the college. I flex this every so often when I'm on camera. If I'm doing national shows that are on, television networks or things of that nature, I like to flex that I'm a Hillsdale dad. I'm a Hillsdale dad of a Hillsdale grad. I could not be prouder. My daughter graduated there in 2021. 2023. Right, because she's a third-year law student now. So she'll graduate from law school in May, but she was at Hillsdale, graduated in 2023. And I love to flex it because it is the best college in America, and it, unlike others, does not take one nickel of federal funding. That means they don't have to do anything with diversity quotas or any affirmative action quotas. It's, I don't care if you're black, brown, yellow, purple, green, or white. And if you've got, tree limbs for arms, if you are the best of the best and you qualify for admission and your scores and your resume dictate you belong here, you're coming here. We got you. And there's nothing the federal government can do about it. That's a beautiful thing about Hillsdale. So anyway, yeah, so I am flexing that. So thank you for noticing that in the comments. Let's see, what else do we have here? I work for a chemical company, says SRL 2025. My pay hasn't gone up at all. I'm not doubting Trump, but the company I work for doesn't give raises. Okay, well, and see, here's the thing. Real wages isn't like necessarily like every individual's personal wages go up. When they talk about wages, they're talking about new hires coming in, for example, starting at higher wages than they were offering a year before. And some companies actually do give higher wages or raises, and some of them give better incentives, especially if you're in the commission economy, type of position. So the average real world wage increases he's talking about doesn't mean it hits every single individual the same way. It is across the board average. But what I will tell you is, whatever you do at your chemical company, SRL, if you work any overtime, once again, when January 1st hits, there's no tax on that. So you keep it all. If you work, a regular 40-hour week and an average, you get, 10, 11, 12 hours of overtime during that week, that's 10, 11 hours at full pay. If you make $20 an hour, you keep $220. Government doesn't get a dime. It's yours. That's part of what Trump ran on and did. And you're going to benefit for that. I Am Roz says, in response to that, by the way, if you're paying less for your gas and your food, then you don't need an increase in wages in your pocket to, and she's right, to feel that wage increase. That is exactly correct. Let's see. Just seeing, I Am Ross. That's kind of funny, actually. I'm not going to read that one out loud, but that is kind of funny. But yes, it is nice to have good people behind the scenes pushing buttons for you so you can just focus on your content and not pulling up your interviews and your video and your audio and so on and so forth. Brian at the New American Media says, the speech highlighted the mess Democrats left for us and many repairs being made. I want to vote to stay in this direction even more than I did last year when I voted for Trump. America agrees. I would concur about that. And here's the other thing I'll say that too before I take a short break and then welcome Dr. Piper in, and hopefully we got him in the green room waiting. We don't yet. We'll have to figure that out. But I want to say this too, just about the optimism, I guess, if you will, of all of this. If you hear a pinging noise in your engine of your car, you can take that to a good mechanic and expect that to take a few hours perhaps to repair. It's a little knock. Something got in the engine, a little bolt came loose or something, and you're okay. Take a few hours, man, do it, If you ram your car into a pole and it has a lot of damage and it's got a destroyed radiator and I'm not a mechanic. I mean, you could open up a car hood for me and I'll look down and I could tell you probably where the windshield wiper fluid reservoir is and maybe where the oil change dipstick is and maybe a couple of spark plugs. Beyond that, I can't point out to the alternator. I can find the fan belt maybe. My point is, you smash into a pole and your car isn't totaled. It's got to be repaired. It's not totaled out. It's going to take more than a few hours. It's going to take a few days. It may take a few weeks, depending on where the parts are coming from, if it's a foreign vehicle or whatever the case might be. You can't bitch and say that how come it's taken so long for my car to get fixed when you jacked it up so badly by ramming it into a pole, right? Well, Trump came in this year not trying to fix a ping in an engine. Biden ran the damn country into a pole. You can't fix that crap in a couple of hours. You can't fix it all in 11 months. Progress has been made in 11 months. But the big repair job is still in front of us. And the tools to do that job are now in our belt. and they're on our rack in 2026, January 1st. The tools to fix the rest of what Biden rammed into a pole are waiting for us. And that is a beautiful thing. All right, we're going to take a little time out here at the top of the hour. I'm going to entertain you with, I think, some music and some video while I try to bring in our guest, Dr. Everett Piper.
We're American proud, we stand our ground. From the fields to the factories, we hold it down. We don't run, we don't hide, we don't back away. When the storms come rolling, we're here to stay. With our hearts full of pride, on our knees we pray. We work for what we got, we know what it's worth. Yeah, we're loud and we're free, and we're country strong. We're American proud, where we all belong. Well, there's a line of booths by the door tonight, and a wall of memories of those who fight for this land of the brave and home of the free, where we can live the way we were meant to be. Out in the yard, kids are playing ball, while we fire up the grill and laugh through it all. It's a simple life, but it's all we need, with a flag that flies for both you and me. We're American proud, we stand our ground. From the fields to the
Well, that was too short. We're still in a break.
We're American proud, we stand our ground. From the fields to the factories, we hold it down. We don't run, we don't hide, we don't back away. When the storms come rolling, we're here to stay. With our hearts full of pride, on our knees we pray. We work for what we got, we know what it's worth. Yeah, we're loud and we're free, and we're country strong. We're American proud, where we all belong. Well, there's a line of booths by the door tonight, and a wall of memories of those who fight for this land of the brave and home of the free, where we can live the way we were meant to be. Out in the yard, kids are playing ball, while we fire up the grill and laugh through it all. It's a simple life, but it's all we need, with a flag that flies for both you and me. We're American proud, we stand our ground. From the fields to the
Okay, we're going to go ahead and come back live now. Apparently, Dr. Piper is having a little bit of a tech glitch, and I don't know what it is. I just know that he's not connected yet. So it looks like it's a tech glitch. We were all confirmed. So when and if he gets on the channel, we will bring him up. Also, my backstage friend, Brian, just said, you know, YouTube isn't going to love that if you don't. I hate the not censorship, I guess I don't want to call it, but the what am I looking for here? The strikes and the different community violations for using music. I understand copyrights, I do. And Brian just messaged me, do you own the American Proud song? Because, you know, YouTube might not love that. And I'm just thinking to myself, I pull songs that I play on shows like this or on videos that I make, you know, like Bob France Road Rants and things like that, which are usually uploaded to my Instagram and my Facebook, Strictly Speaking, Unfiltered with Bob France page, and TikTok, Strictly Speaking, as well. And I upload these things, and I usually choose them from a list of available songs that say royalty free. And I've done this many, many times, royalty free. That means these aren't somebody else's copywritten and protected, you know, property, or if they are, but they're still being given, you know, an opportunity is given for people to use them and share them. So I choose it from, and then I still get strikes. I still get, you know, this music is muted because, you know, it's copyright protected. It said royalty free. And that's what that song did. That's why I just decided to throw that up there as a little break music for me. So I don't know exactly what it means. What is Brian saying here now? If it's excessive copyright, punitive energy from, yeah, I know. Then they don't have their stuff together. You're exactly right. It is punitive, and they try to do everything they can to make it harder, particularly if you are on our side of the political spectrum. That's reality. All right. So hopefully we're going to get Dr. Piper in. If we don't get Dr. Piper in, we can move on to get onto a couple of other things. And I want to hit this one. This is one of the top 5. This is number 5, actually, of our top 10 at 10 this morning. And this is what Democrats did when it comes to protecting children. This is, I described it in the opening monologue and doing the top 10 at 10. as being Frankensteinian or Frankensteinian, depending on how you want to pronounce that. And I also said it was kind of Mengele-esque. The barbaric dissection of kids. Is that too far? I don't think it is. It's like when you're in high school biology, or maybe in college. I think I did my first fetal pig in college. I did a frog in high school in the biology class. You put the frog or the pig on the table, and you don't know what the hell you're doing. You're figuring it out as you go, and you're slicing open this animal in front of you to learn about how its insides work and to learn the different parts of the body and so on and so forth. And it's really quite, it's traumatizing for some, because you're cutting into, a living, well, it was a living being, but it's not even human. It's an animal, and it's dead, and it's still a little bit difficult for a lot of people to do. What the left has done is tried to tell us that it is okay to do that to a human being, and one that's not even dead, not even dissecting a cadaver, but a living human being, and in particular, a child. And we're talking about the trans surgeries. More than 200 House Democrats, we found this out last night, voted against a bill yesterday that would criminalize and allow doctors and parents to be prosecuted for butchering children in such a way. And there's no other way to describe that. Do you know that if you in your high school or college biology class, when you're supposed to be dissecting your pig, if you started screwing around because you're an immature idiot, like a lot of young men are, and said, "Watch this," and took the fetal pig and I'm going to cut its boob off, your professor would probably, kick you out of the class and tell you to grow up. What are you doing? You quit being stupid. Or you're a fetal frog and you start cutting around in between its legs, or you're a frog dissection, cut between the legs, cut his thing off. People would be like, mortified by that kind of behavior. They voted 200 Democrats, more than 200 Democrats voted to do that to children who are still alive. And they call it medical treatment. They call it healthcare. The bill to criminalize that sort of, and when I say Mengele-esque, you know what it means too. You know the barbaric experiments, and that's what it is, experimentation that was done, particularly on children in Nazi Germany, in the concentration camps, and particularly of certain types of children, like twins. He did experimentation on twins to see what would happen. They would do horrific things to each twin in different ways to see how their bodies, if they reacted the same way or if they reacted differently, their pain sensors, their receptors. They would shoot dye into eyeballs with needles to see if they could change the eye color that way. I mean, experimenting with bodily mutilation on children was standard for the Nazi doctor Mengele. We would be mortified if we saw that, but we're voting in the United States freaking Congress to do that to children. And what do they give as rationale? Children wanted it. The child doesn't believe he's a female. The child doesn't believe he's a male. And if the child believes what the child believes, then we have to listen to what the child believes, because we let children decide all kinds of things for themselves, right? If they say they're old enough to handle alcohol at age 12, we give them beer. If they say they know that drugs won't hurt them, we let them smoke and take drugs. If a child says, I really know what I want to do with my body and I want that giant tattoo all over my arm, we let them get tattoos at 11, don't we? Of course we don't, because we're not crazy people. And they're kids and they don't know any better. So why would you let a kid tell you they're not what their body is, and then say, yeah, we agree with you, we'll let you make that call, prep them for surgery? The hell? 4 Republicans also joined the Democrats in voting for criminal mutilation of children. Mike Kennedy, Utah; Brian Fitzpatrick, Pennsylvania; Gabe Evans, Colorado; Mike Lawler, New York, all voted with the Democrats. Transgender issues, particularly related to minors, have been one of the topics driving a wedge between moderate and progressive Democrats, but the severity of the bill's language appears to have turned off a significant number of Democrats in the House. The bill creates new federal crimes that carry up to 10 years in prison for doctors performing transgender surgeries on minors, while also making it a crime to prescribe puberty blockers. What's the problem with that? If somebody said after the war, in Nuremberg, the doctor, if they had caught him, Mengele got away. But if they got him and he was on trial, if somebody said, we recommend a sentence of 10 years for butchering, mutilating, carving up children for your own experimentation and your own sadism, what would we say? We would say 10 years? What are you kidding? Execute him. 10 years is a mercy for doctors that do exactly what Mengele did. And it's every bit as barbaric. I mentioned about, a fetal pig or a frog cutting off its junk or cutting off the breasts or whatever, the teats of an animal or something of that nature, and how people would flip out. They would flip out. They're doing that and more to kids. Do you know how they make a fake phallus? How they make in a transgender female to male surgery? Do you know how they make a penis that they fashion out of human flesh to try to sew onto a space where a vagina leading to a womb was? Do you know what they do? They harvest the meat from their forearms, from the kids' forearms. They will literally carve the meat off of their bone and use it to go into a little lab and put it in a little petri dish and try to glue little pieces of it. That's why I call it Frankensteinian. To glue little pieces of it together. And then they'll take some of it from the calf and then they'll attach it and they'll try to hook the urethra up to it. And it leads to not, I'm sorry to go off on it. It leads to nothing but pain and constant medical care for the rest of the lives of these victims of this barbarism. How do we know? Because I've interviewed them. In that little montage of clips that I played there during the short break as I tried to get Dr. Piper onto the line or onto the show. One of them was Chloe Cole. One of the people that I interviewed in depth is Chloe Cole. Chloe Cole is one of the leaders, I think it's a fair way to say it, of the detransition movement. She's one of the people who started the transitioning because she talked the adults in her life when she was 12 into thinking she knew what she was talking about and knew what she wanted to do and become a male, because she was going through what a lot of young girls at puberty go through. They hate their body. They don't like the pain. They don't like the changes they're going through. They don't like the fact that their voice is changing and hair is growing. A lot of girls think that, because they hate going through it so much that they're really not girls. They're not meant to be girls. That's what happened to Chloe. And so she started on the puberty blockers and she started on the road to transition surgery. Fortunately, she came to the realization halfway through it or on the way to the surgical part that she made a huge mistake because she didn't know any better. And the adults in her lives failed her. And she was about to be Frankensteined with fake body parts being created for her and real functioning, healthy organs being cut off of her. And she is screaming the message to children, don't do this. Give it time. You will get past your loathing of your body and your hatred of the puberty you're going through. You will be fine. You will come out of this on the other side. And telling parents, don't do this. Don't listen to the doctors who are waiting with bills, hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical bills that will be covered by the insurance companies to carve your child up. Don't listen to them when they tell you, well, you have two options here. You can have a living son or a dead daughter. Which do you prefer? They say that. I've talked to Chloe about it, and they scare the hell out of the parents into thinking, well, I better let my daughter transition into my son because otherwise she's going to be a dead daughter. They lie to them. And then they put these kids through it, and then the kids have to go through the misery of realizing what was done to them was the wrong thing, and they were failed by the adults in their lives. All this bill that they tried to pass here now is saying don't let parents do this to their kids and don't let the doctors do it. If the doctors will be punished with 10 years in jail for doing it, they'll stop lying to the parents. The parents will stop letting the kids make adult decisions that they're not ready for. And so much of this can be alleviated. And they voted against it. The Democrats, over 200 Democrats and 4 Republicans voted against it. It is beyond barbaric. And I thought we were over this. Tim McBride, the dude, Democrat from South Carolina, maybe. I can't remember for sure. I think when I say South Carolina, member of Congress, he wants you to call him Sarah because he likes lipstick and wigs and dresses. He wants to be called Sarah. We won't. He's Tim McBride and he's a male. He freaked out over this yesterday. I might have a clip. If I can get back to sharing this, I might have a clip. But he just freaked out. Oh my God, all of the harm this is going to do to kids. This is going to save kids' lives. If this gets past the Senate and signed by the president, this is going to save kids' lives. Countless kids. I like to think that hopefully we're past the peak insanity, past the peak lunacy of the trans movement, the woke mind virus, the social contagion that it is. I hope and I have faith that that's the case. We're past the worst of it, but there are still a whole lot of people enmeshed in it. Mike Zamore, National Director of Policy and Government Affairs at the ACLU, said this extreme bill, because here's what it does. Parents or guardians could be held criminally liable if they consent to otherwise facilitate transgender treatment for their kids. And again, they're using the word treatment that I just completely and wholly reject. It's not treatment. It is mutilation. This extreme bill puts the threat of prosecution between hundreds of thousands of families and their doctors and would put doctors behind bars for exercising their best medical judgment. Their best medical judgment, my ass. They don't have any medical judgment. They don't. If they're going to carve up kids and carve off, there's something that they don't even make doctors take anymore called the Hippocratic Oath. The Hippocratic Oath says, first, do no harm. And that means you don't harm a functioning, healthy organ. You don't cut it off of somebody. A woman gets a mastectomy if she's got a high risk of breast cancer or, God forbid, a lump that may be cancerous. They get a mastectomy. That's not a healthy organ. You don't cut off healthy organs and then call that medical care. That violates the first tenet of being a physician, first do no harm. They don't make them take that oath anymore. But the reality is these doctors don't have a clue what it is that they're doing. How do we know this? Again, listen to those who are going or who have gone through it. I've got an ancillary story on that I'll come back to. Trust me, it's worth the wait here. Let me get the rest of what these lunatics at the ACLU and others are saying. Quote, passing this bill would be a grave escalation of the already severe effort to not only push transgender people out of public life, but also to allow the state to control our bodies and our lives further. Assholes! The state is not controlling the bodies. The state is doing what the state has always done. And that is saying, wait until you're 18 and you're old enough to make a decision on whether or not you want to carve up your body. That's not controlling. It is simply acknowledging the fact that human beings are considered not capable of making life-altering decisions for themselves until they are at least adult age. For crying out loud. We still don't even think a child at 18 that we now consider an adult and give voting rights to and give the rights to own a firearm, we think they're adult enough to do that, but we don't think they're adult enough to handle beer. You can't drink a glass of wine with dinner at 19 or 20, not until you're 20 freaking one, because we know you're still not able to do adult stuff. And these people think that it's state controlling the bodies of people by saying, parents don't let your kids get carved up because they're kids and having fantasies about what they think they are and what they think they want to be. I think Bill Maher said it best last year. Bill Maher said it best Thank God my parents weren't idiots, because when I was a pirate, or I'm sorry, when I was a child, I thought I was a pirate. And thank God they didn't cut off one of my legs and give me a peg leg and put a parrot on my shoulder, because they knew I was just a kid and I was stupid. I was a kid and I didn't know. It wasn't real. It was a weird fantasy thing that I think I'm something that I'm not. Representative Nancy Mace argued in favor of the bill on the House floor, said it's obscene, it's disgusting. You're seeing in real time Democrats wanting and defending the grooming of children. It is abhorrent. It's more than grooming. It is literally destroying them. There is a lie at the heart of the debate that we're having today that I have to correct. No child is born in the wrong body. There are only two sexes, male and female. There are no others. Nancy Mace is spot on, and I think she has earned the second of these that we will give today.
Can you dig it?
So that was number 5 on the top 10 at 10 this morning. And now here's the follow-up to it. I read that line from the article just now about the ACLU guy complaining, this just invades the relationship between patient and doctors, and it robs the doctors of their ability to make their own best medical decisions. And I say they don't make medical decisions. They're not medical decisions if they're choosing to help carve up little children who don't know any better and scaring parents into saying, if you don't let me carve up your kid with a $200,000, by the way, surgical bill that we'll be charging, and the plastic surgeon after that to try to replace all of the flesh we cut, we had to harvest from their body, and all of the other doctors who are going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars each on your new patient for life when they have to come in because of uratory and digestive and excretory functions, because we tried to replace things with other things that don't belong there, and all of the other things that go wrong. We're all going to make millions collectively. If you don't sign your kid up for this, we lose that money. So here's what we're going to tell you. Sign your kid up for this or your kid's going to kill himself. Your son who thinks he's a girl is going to be a dead son if you don't let him become a girl. And if you let him become a girl, we make millions. That's what this law will prevent. And so they're saying, but the doctors know best. Here's the follow-up. I feel like we're all just winging it, said one clinician at the World Professional Association for Transgender Health. This is the WPATH organization. This, according to a recent report that exposed a recording of what advocates of so-called gender-affirming care have been saying when they think nobody's looking. Quote, and that's okay. You're winging it too, but maybe we can just wing it together. End quote. This is one of the surgeons. This is one of the doctors, a clinician at WPATH, was caught on tape saying, we don't know what the freaking hell we're doing. We're practicing on these kids. We're winging it together. We'll connect this piece to that piece and then watch and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, we'll cut it apart again and we'll try another piece. We're winging it. We're figuring it out as we go. Do you know what that's called in the scientific community? Experimenting. They're experimenting on these kids, just like Mengele did. What will happen if I cut this part off and attach it to this part? Or cut this off of one twin and put it on another twin? Or freeze this twin's arm in frostbite temperatures and boil the other one's arm, and let's compare the two. I'm not making that crap up. They experimented on what would happen if they do these things to children's bodies. And now that's why I said a-holes when I was reading the last story, when they're, the doctors are being robbed of the ability to use their best judgment. And I screamed, a-holes, they don't have any best judgment. They're freaking winging it. And that's because I read this story yesterday too. The writer of this article telling the story about the WPATH clinician is a detransitioner named Prisha Mosley. Prisha Mosley said, the it that they were winging was my body, and their recklessness has left me with lifelong scars, both physical ones and psychological ones. I'm going to quote from her here. I was only around 15 years old when I was introduced to transgenderism. Let me stop there. Christ. This is also what we warn and what we tell people about. Kids don't just think to themselves one day at age 12 or 13 or 15 or whatever, I really think I'm a boy. I really think I'm a girl. Do you know how many people do that? That's called legitimate gender dysphoria. Like less than 0.1% of the population. The number is so tiny, it's minuscule. The actual people who have a gender dysphoric condition like that. The rest of them are what you just heard her write or me read that she wrote. I was introduced to transgenderism. Social contagion. Social contagion. People online, influencers are saying you don't have to be what you are born as, what you were assigned at birth. You can be whatever you want. Here's how easy it is. Go to your mom and dad and say this. They take you to the doctor and you say this. They give you a prescription to stop your puberty. Then, when you really know what you are, then you can start taking hormones to become what you are. And then we can put you under the knife and you can be dissected and then put back together as what you really are. They introduce kids to transgenderism. They groom them, they indoctrinate them, they push it on them. This detransitioner is spot on with this because the story has been told by countless numbers of people and it gets worse. It gets worse though. Wait. I was only around 15 years old when I was introduced to transgenderism. A lot of what I had heard resonated with me. I hated myself and I hated my body. I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and anorexia. So I was no stranger to being uncomfortable in my own body. I'd gone into the doctor's office to get help for my mental state. And after my first appointment with a counselor, I left with an approval for testosterone. One meeting, one appointment. Here you go. I was not in a good enough place or old enough. I was not in a good enough place or old enough to understand that I was being medically abused or that having my healthy body parts destroyed or discarded would only deepen my trauma. Just one appointment led me down a pathway of permanent destruction and mutilation. I believed my doctors. You want to follow along with this? I mean, what the hell? Sometimes I have to remind myself that we're on video and not just radio. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I can share this. I can share this and I will share this and I am sharing this. Let me see if I can make it a little larger for you to follow along because this is important stuff. Yeah, okay. So if you want to see your screen and want to look at your screen, follow along with me here. Just one appointment led me down a pathway of permanent destruction and mutilation. I believed my doctors when they told me girls could become boys and that removing my breasts was the life-saving care I needed to avoid taking my own life. I genuinely believed the doctors who said transitioning was going to be the cure for my mental and emotional distress. This is what I meant when I said, screw this doctor's, a judgment thing. The doctors have no judgment when they are motivated by profit. Not anything else but profit. That's the real driving point that we're trying to make here. Continuing. I was not in a good enough place or old enough to understand I was being medically abused and that having my healthy body parts destroyed and discarded would deepen my trauma. Yet despite calling themselves medical professionals, they didn't care. They were, after all, winging it. Doctors are required. I brought this up too. I didn't know this was in here. To do no harm. As a teenager struggling with severe mental health challenges, I was not aware that I was being experimented on. Mengele, Dr. Frankenstein. I went to these doctors because I needed help, real help. I was distressed, mentally ill, and suicidal. By any standard, I was a vulnerable little girl, and the last thing I needed was to go under the knife. There are entire fields dedicated to stabilizing young people in crisis. None of those protocols include experimenting on healthy, developing bodies. None of them includes rushing children into irreversible harm. None of them include rushing children into permanent procedures without long-term data, consensus, or basic caution. Key word there, consensus. That word matters. Consensus matters here. What do I mean by that? You cannot give informed consent if you are not an adult. You are not allowed under the age of 16 to sign a legally binding contract. You know that? You cannot sign a legally binding contract if you're under the age of 16. So if you are under the age of 16, you cannot consent to having yourself mutilated. You have to get the parents to sign off on it, which is why the doctors that lie to the parents and say, if you don't do this, your kid's going to kill himself or herself. So what do you want? A living son or a dead daughter? What do you want? A living daughter or a dead son? And that's how they get the parents to give consent, because the kids cannot consent to this themselves. This is barbarism times 10. This particular news story was incredibly painful to read. The phrase winging it has echoed in my mind for days, but that's precisely what happened to me, and it's what's happening to countless others. My story is unfortunately one of many, and I'm choosing to speak out. The consequences of these doctors winging it haunt me every single day. They are there when I look in the mirror and when I use the bathroom. They're there when I'm bonding with my children. Every part of my daily life is a reminder of what was done to me under the guise of compassion. When I see the life-altering consequences I have no choice but to carry, I wonder the consequences I have no choice but to carry. I wonder how many medical professional institution organizations entrusted with the lives of children could justify this recklessness. How could they gamble with the future of thousands of children's lives, including mine? The truth is this: the doctors never considered my future. They considered the ideologies, personal agendas, and wallets above the lives of the very ones they were treating. I have a baby now and a child whose life has been shaped by the medical decisions forced on me when I was far too young and unstable to consent to what was happening. Because of the doctors who operated on me when I was so young, I was unable to breastfeed my son. My body was never designed to endure hormones meant for men and surgeries that cut away my healthy breasts. Yet the people responsible, the ones who were supposed to protect me, shrugged off their own uncertainty and made decisions anyway. They were winging it with my life, with my child's life, with the countless lives with the lives of countless young patients who trust them. So it's near the end. I might as well finish it. As a suicidal teenager, I was seeking what I was told would be life-saving care. What I didn't realize is that the doctors who were tasked with taking care of me were rewriting my future and putting it in the hands of people who had no desire to help my mental illness. Now that the truth is coming out, the question I keep returning to is painfully simple. Why didn't my doctors care enough to protect me? Whatever the answer to that question is, what matters is that the medical community must be held accountable, not only for the harm already done to people like me, but also to prevent vulnerable children from going through what I did. No young person should ever again be subjected to the irreversible interventions based on guesswork. And no parent should be pressured into consenting to experimental medicine disguised as certainty. And no child should grow up to learn that the adults entrusted with their care were making it up as they went along. All right. Just a brief follow-up on that. That was the story of Prisha Mosley. The story of Chloe Cole, her interview, by the way, is on this channel. When you're done watching today's show, go back and watch anything you want. Previous shows, they're all going to be up. But the previous interviews that I did back before this became a live show, and I was just doing 1-hour interviews with certain newsmakers. I did that interview with Chloe Cole a year ago or so. And one part that stuck with me that I want to share with you now that is the perfect follow-up to this. And by the way, after reading that story with me or listening to me read it to you, does it not piss you off even more that 200 Democrats plus and 4 Republicans voted against a bill holding these very freaking doctors and parents accountable for doing this to kids? Because if it didn't, I question your soul. Not that I am anybody to question anybody else's soul. Lord knows I have problems and warped thinking as well. Everybody has, things, but If you can't listen to her story and think to yourself, we can't let this happen to other children, there's something wrong with you deep inside. And like I said, maybe going all the way to your soul. Okay. The Chloe Cole follow-up on this. The Chloe Cole follow-up on this. Did that share? Are you telling Brian? I just sort of noticed a comment in a private chat that the video might not have been, the share button might not have been working. I thought everybody was able to see that article as I read it. That's the only thing I'm talking about right now. But if you didn't, you at least heard it from me. So one way or the other, we're okay. I don't want to deviate too far from the point here, which is the follow-up and the Chloe Cole part of this. Chloe Cole told me many of the same things you just heard that I read to you from Prisha Mosley, that the parents listened to the doctors, and the doctors who are winging it said, this is the best course. By the way, here's the bill to the insurance companies. Parents don't have to pay the bill. The insurance companies do, right? And we got you from beginning to end. From the beginning counseling session, which in day one results in a prescription for puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones, to day two when we're advancing to the next course and scheduling surgeries, and all the way through the aftercare. And we've got you as you transition into your real true self, right? They're there for them through all of that. Countless doctors and counselors. And again, the bills, don't worry, not a single bill will come your way. The insurance companies have you. What Chloe told me in the second part of that story that nobody talks about is what happens when you detransition. What happens when you say, I made a big, awful mistake here. I made a mistake. I'm a woman. I've always been a woman. I made a mistake. I'm a man. I've always been a man. I had something done to me or was in the process of getting something done to me that needs to be undone. I made a giant mistake. Why did you let me make that mistake, Mom, Dad? Why did you tell me this was the right thing to do, doctor? Oh my gosh, I listened to you. I was a kid. I was 14. I was 15. Can't even legally sign a contract. Can't take a drink of a beer. Can't own a gun. Can't vote because I'm too young and naive and immature to know better. You let me do this. Why did you let me do this? But you did. And I did it. And now I need to get out of it. I need to detransition and go back to what I really, truly am. What Chloe Cole told me was when she did that, that's when they abandoned her. We're there for you to continue to affirm your transition. You want to go back? You're dead to us. And by the way, every medical bill you have to receive now in order to undo what was done to you, to the extent that it's possible, you pay it. The insurance companies don't cover detransitioning. They only cover transitioning. So all of we care for you, Chloe. We care for you. And I think, what did she name herself? Gosh, I forgot what male name she chose. But whatever it was, we're there for you. And they started calling her by the different pronouns and so on and so forth. Every step of the way, we've got you. Until she realized what a huge mistake it was. And then it's like, who are you? No. Click. She would make phone calls and say, hi, this is, Chloe. Can I talk to the doctor? Doctor's not available. Click. Can I leave a message? Click. They ghosted her. The medical community that said we're there to make sure that we're giving you life-affirming, gender-affirming care, ghost you when you want to leave that. It is impossible to justify. Absolutely impossible. And again, the bills, you continue. And most of the things, by the way, that get done, depending on how far you go with the surgery, if it's just top surgery, but not bottom surgery, which is their gentle euphemisms because they don't want to say double mastectomy, breast removal, penile and sex organ removal, chopping junk off, sewing up vaginas. They don't want to just say what they're doing. So, it's top surgery. Well, that sounds genteel. It's bottom surgery. Oh, okay, we're going to do some surgery to make the bottom right. They don't want you to hear what they're doing. But we're there for you through all of that until, and those things, by the way, are irreversible. Never be able to undo those. But the things that can be reversed to the extent that, the double mastectomy, you can, again, have plastic surgery and perhaps try to graft some semblance of a breast back on and, the plastic surgery thing, but you'll have to absorb that cost yourself. We will pay, the insurance companies say, we have a deal with the doctors and the providers. We'll pay whatever they charge to chop your boobs off. If you decide later you want them back, we will not pay the doctor who will glue new ones to you, who will plastic surgery you back into female status. You're on your own there. How does... Anyway, I don't know if I have Raskin or not. Jamie Raskin, the ranking member of the Oversight Committee, I think it is. But Jamie Raskin was flipping about this. And then Tim McBride, the dude from, I think it's South Carolina, who wants you to call him a female, wants you to call him Sarah McBride, flipped out about this vote yesterday. And I had that queued up earlier. I don't know if I can pull it up now on short notice. Let me see. Yeah, maybe I can. Yeah, let's see if we can watch Tim. I'm sorry, Sarah, don't call me Tim, but I'm going to call him Tim anyway, McBride. Let me see if we can listen to him go on his little freak out, because he wants children to be brutalized and mutilated in every single way that you just read, or we just read Prisha Mosley say was done to her. Here we go.
I get it's hard to understand what it feels like to be trans. I get that it is hard.
There's an issue. Damn it. The video is playing, as I can see, but the audio, for whatever reason, is not there anymore. It's a constant learning process. Don't know exactly why the audio is not playing right now, but apparently it is just not. Let me give it one more shot, pushing one more button.
I get it's hard to understand.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a function going on.
I get that it is hard to understand what it feels like to
my
be
platform and or Rumble that it's being pushed out to, that I can't fix as far as the audio. So sorry about that. If you're in chat, wait, whoa. You can hear the audio, I'm told. Okay. Then there's something just trippy going on here in the studio, because I'm not hearing the audio. That's no fair. You get to hear what I don't get to hear. That's totally not fair. But if you were hearing it, okay, I'll roll with it. I'll give it back to you again. If you can hear it, you'll just have to tell me in the chat what it says, because I'm not hearing it. Here we go.
I get it's hard to understand what it feels like to be trans. I get that it is hard to understand what it feels like to be me. I get that it's hard to understand this care and understand the need for it. But one of the things that gets so lost in this conversation is that the transgender adults of today were kids once. I was a kid once. I didn't have the courage to come out until I was 21. But it's a fact I have known about myself for my entire life. I didn't have the courage to come out until I was 21, and that means 21 years of pain. 21 years of unwavering homesickness that only went away when I was able to get the care that I needed. And my biggest regret in life is that I never had a childhood without that pain. I marvel at the courage of transgender young people today who are sharing themselves with their families and this world, despite the toxicity and the hate that too often emanates from the building behind me and from politicians within it. All any of us want is to live a life of purpose and happiness and wholeness. None of us know how long we have. None of us know how much time we have on this planet. It is already hard enough to raise a family. It is already hard enough to be a kid, and government should not make it harder.
All right, it's over. I didn't get to hear it, like I said, because of whatever the tech problem is today. It seems like every day there's a new tech problem. I figured out what happened to yesterday's camera dying. It's a Sony cam issue. But I figured it out and got the right equipment to fix that, so we won't lose the video again. But the audio was not there for me. So, you know what? My guy Brian is behind the scenes with me. I'm going to bring him on here. Let me stop the share. I'm going to bring Brian on here, Brian, because you listen to it and you can tell me out loud what everybody else could only type to me in the chat to tell me exactly what Tim/Sarah said. I read a couple of the headline quotes from Tim McBride earlier today when I found the story, but I did not listen to the rant. And you can tell me out loud what everybody else could only type to me in the chat to tell me exactly what Tim/Sarah said. And that's now I'm hearing. I think that must be coming from your speaker. So you see if you can kill that. Yeah.
All right, I got you.
Yeah, it's the lines are crossing, Brian. I see you. When I bring you onto the camera, though, I'm hearing myself coming back in the speaker.
I got you now. I can hear you.
Okay, good. There you go. Okay, right. Brian, thanks, brother. Appreciate your help. Brian has been my tutor. Brian's been my tutor. He's been doing Rumble broadcasts for many, many years now. He embraced the platform a long time ago and does his own shows, including the New American Media TNAM Daily Show, which is on at noon, right? When we're done?
Absolutely. What a great lead-in. I couldn't ask for a better lead-in.
Yeah, right? There you go. Anyway, Brian has been kind of tutoring me on how to use, the Rumble platform and the Restream and so on and so forth. So, Brian, I don't know what the audio glitch was. You guys were hearing it. I was not. So give me the gist of what Sarah McBride said.
Yes. By the way, on your other open-ended question about Jamie Raskin, yes, he's technically the ranking member of the senior Democrat on the House Committee on the Judiciary.
Oh, Judiciary. Okay.
Yeah, we call him one of the designated liars. Scott Adams says that all the time. They roll out the same 5 to 8 faces when they need their designated liars. If you need a home run off the bench, they're designated liars. Jamie Raskin is one of those. But regarding the conversation there, that person was saying trans adults of today were kids once. I didn't have the courage to come out until 21. A fact I've known about me my whole life. Also said it said 21 years.
Let me pause that for a second. If I had a chance to talk this idiot, and what I would say is, then at least you did it the right way. You were 21. You're an adult. And if you want to make that decision to carve yourself up, and I don't know if this person is a full-on Caitlyn Jenner type. I did the whole bottom surgery and cut my junk off and fashioned a fake vagina or whatever. But whatever you did, if you did it yourself at the age of 21, good. But nobody should have let you do this crap at 12 or 13, because guess what? The chances are extraordinarily high that you don't know what the hell you were talking about because you were 12 or 13. That's what happens. And then they get these kids trapped in it, and then for the rest of their lives, they regret it. You may be one of the very few who don't, but that's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, and there's very rosy euphemisms that are used for self-affirming care, gender-affirming care. Rosie, don't you want an alive child instead of a... Okay, we call it unnecessary genital mutilation on the New American Media. We've called it that for 15 years. It's unnecessary genital mutilation. I have a psychology degree. I've volunteered in crisis centers. I've studied these topics more so than some people have. No, I'm not an expert. No, I haven't gone through it, but gender dysphoria is listed in the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. It is a mental health condition. We have compassion for anyone who's suffering from any sort of mental condition. You don't encourage somebody who thinks they're Superman to jump off of a building. You kindly and compassionately say, buddy, you're in the window. You got that window open. Buddy, come here. Hey, we've known each other forever. I love you. I love you so much. Can you just come here real quick? I want to show you something in this. Just please get out of the window. You want to help them from harming themselves. And that's why we go with unnecessary genital mutilation. But in the comments, that person said, I can still hear it now.
But you know what, if I may, it's not strong enough. It's not unnecessary. It is damaging. It is permanently disfiguring. It is mutilation.
Mutilation.
It is, I just say bodily mutilation. And because I don't think there is ever necessary mutilation, because I don't call cutting off a cancer-ridden breast mutilating. That is life.
Gangrene is to save the rest of
that is life-saving.
Right. This isn't gangrene. You're functioning. You're peeing. You're experience. And I like to go back to this. We can get caught in the weeds of this particular issue, but I go, look, there's a lot of areas and avenues to explore here. But how about we start with this? I am pro orgasm. I hope for you, whoever you are out there within the sound of my voice, that you can experience a moment of bliss, joy, relaxation, just the euphoric moment of having an orgasm. And if you let people start chopping and slicing and dicing, it's the same thing that's happening in Middle Eastern countries where they're abusing these human beings, these women, so that they can't experience pleasure. That's abusive. That is torturous. That is Mengele-esque, as you said. I agree.
Yeah,
I know that person living the life they want, but you don't. No amount of makeup or costume or clothing, nothing can turn you into something you're not. You're loved how you are. Please stop listening to people that's just like someone saying to a flat-chested chick, like, you're nothing. You're garbage unless you get some breast implants. If you're not double D's, you're trash. You're nothing, lady. Like, you would hear something like that and like your skin would crawl. You've probably known people in high school that have acted that way and belittled people and made them feel less than, so they need to go through these transformative surgeries because they've been belittled and beaten like that. Well, it's abusive to beat people with this radical gender dysphoria bludgeoning.
1,000%.
Baseball bat.
Give me the rest of what this clown said, Brian.
I can still hear it now. Hard to understand. It can be hard to understand what it's like to be trans or to be me. Or to understand the need for the care. It said 21 years of homesickness. That only went away when I got the care that I needed. And my biggest regret is I didn't have a childhood without that pain. Yeah. So that is
this guy cannot be allowed to be a representative of people in Congress. This guy cannot be up there on a platform like this, encouraging parents to do what was done to him and what was done to Prisha Mosley and what was done to Chloe Cole and was done to so many of these people, because the regret is forever. The regret is forever. If one of these people wants to get this done, they can wait until they're 18 years of age to make that decision, just like we make them wait until 18 years of age to get a tattoo or to do, any number of things. Yeah. And like I said before, even at the age of 18, we still don't think that you're mature enough to drink beer, safely, or wine or alcohol. There's so many things that you cannot do because you're not considered mature or responsible enough to do. So, they can wait, and there won't be any harm in waiting if they still want to go and have themselves chopped up.
Yeah, and that's
but if you push them in the reverse, if you push them to get it done early, it's irreversible. You can't unring that bell. You can't untrans somebody. Like I said, Chloe Cole has gone through hell and back in trying to become a female again. Her voice deepened when she started taking the testosterone. She started growing hair on her face in places where she wouldn't and shouldn't have been. And so she's had to try to balance that out and have procedures and take more, medications. And all of those things are, like I said, while they may be quote unquote reversible, some of the lighter ones, the really deep stuff, and I'm talking about the genital mutilation and the, sex organs and the uratory organs, and excretory functions and so forth. These things it is irreversible. You will never be healthy down there. You mentioned orgasms. I'm just talking about peeing without constantly leaking from whichever fake thing you have in your pants, constantly having to wear Depends at the age of 29 because it all leaks, because it's not meant to be done that way.
It has to be cleaned once a day. It can sew back up. It can grow back to get
right.
The more you go down this rabbit hole, the way it's painted is so unfair. It's so disingenuous. Just like when Chris Wallace said the Fine People hoax during the 2020 debate with Biden and Trump. It was so disingenuous. It was a completely proven hoax. It's so disingenuous to frame it the way that it is. All those things, those protections, those restrictions on unnecessary genital mutilation is to protect the kid, out of love for the kid, out of care for the kid, out of looking out for their best interest. And that's
because they've been lied to by the doctors.
Yeah.
The doctors lie to them and say, if you care and love your kid and you want to take care of your kid, then you've got to get this done. You've got to affirm this new identity. If you don't, they're a corpse. If you don't, your child is going to kill himself or herself.
Or California or different places will say, we want to take your kid away. We'll take your kid away if you don't go along. You go, excuse me, I know it takes a village, Hillary, but this is my kid, my life. Are you kidding me? But
Washington State does that too. Yeah, we will literally take your kid and put them in a foster home where somebody will call them by they, them, they, or whatever, and we'll indeed get them on the program of the protocol of drugs.
Mhm.
It is, and you're exactly right. And parents have lost, their control of their kids because they're being told by counselors and counselors who simply like to, advance this type, talk about the psychological ones, advance this social contagion that we're talking about, and then the actual doctors who perform it and the pharmaceutical companies who prescribe the drugs that get there, they all have a profit motive in mind. I think the psych doctors just want to continue to push people into this because it's experimentation for them too. And the physical medical doctors who do the procedures and prescribe and give the drugs and so on and so forth, they all have profit motives. And it is sickening and disgusting to know that they will lie to parents about the state of their kids, being, their health care and their affirmation and so on and so forth in order to line. It's what I said about Candace Owens earlier this week, selling your soul to the devil. How big, like Bud Fox said to Gordon Gekko, how many yachts can you water ski behind? How much is enough? That's what he said to Gekko. How much is enough? How much, Candace, is enough that you can stop grifting off of Charlie Kirk's death to build your pot of gold and make it bigger? How much, Dr. Frankenstein, is enough before you'll stop mutilating kids and lying to parents that the kids are going to kill themselves if you don't give them, what they want here?
Yeah, and it's a powerful enough story. I made sure that I grabbed it and shared it on X. Go check it out. It's at American_media_. This is from your @StrictSpeaking X account. That is still your primary, correct?
Yes, strict speaking, because the character count wouldn't let me do strictly.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm
so
American_media_. I couldn't do the new American media. I know everything's backward. Our Strictly Football show is TNAM football. That's the best we could get.
You got to do, you got to do what you got to do.
But I've never heard your interview with Chloe Cole, so I put it out on X and tagged you. Please, everybody, if you're watching, go click that link. I don't know. I was recommending to Bob. I'm like, hey, when their show's over, you could play that whole interview. Like, you run the whole network now. You could do 24/7 broadcasting if you ever wanted to. But yeah, Bob's doing.
Hold on. So you're saying, hold on. You're saying I couldn't play this from Rumble right now, like on this show at the same time?
Well, what I am saying, and perhaps even suggesting, although it's your thing, do your thing.
No, but I just want to know, because yes. Let me do this. Here's what I do want to do. I'm going to share the screen to show people what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody can see that. So that was done. Is there a date on that? Looks like this was 8 months ago. At least that's when I uploaded it. I thought it was more like 12 months ago that I did it. But like I said, I just used to use this account as a dumping ground to put old videos and interviews that I did. And I didn't promote them or push them. That's why you can see only a few people have actually seen it, or at least liked it. 98 people have watched it. But trust me, after the conversation that we just had today, and after the story we just told today from Prisha Mosley, and after the vote yesterday, in which over 200 Democrats plus 4 Republicans voted to destroy these people's bodies like this, you're going to want to hear this interview and focus especially on what I was saying a moment ago about the detransitioning, how they ghosted her when she decided she didn't, all of the people who said we're there for you from the beginning and we'll always will be, the people who ghosted her when it came time to undo the damage that was done. That to me is the real game changer there. So Brian, you want to get a word in before you go get ready for your show?
No, I mean, other than, you're doing a great job getting this going. You have 1,000 things happening at once. Every day it's something new. And it almost never makes sense. It's hard to actually pinpoint, well, what happened? I don't know. Just did that today. But that's the nature of this new business. You're rolling with it, and you've been in this arena for long enough. You've been the man in the arena.
Yeah, but a different arena. Like I said, it's kind of easy to talk a little bit. I've got all of my content. I got my stories in front of me, and I got my sound bites I want to play and so forth. Somebody in the other room is pushing buttons. I got to push the buttons, frame the camera, make sure the audio works, get the new story ready, grab and that's what makes it a challenge. So it is a different animal, but it's a challenge that I'm up to. You've been doing it for 15 years your own way, and I appreciate all of your help and assistance with it. So Brian, thanks for the support as always, brother, and I will talk to you again probably tomorrow.
Yeah, that works for me. And if anyone wants to check it out, we are the New American Media on Rumble and YouTube and all of the fun places. We do our live daily show starting at noon. So I'm going to bounce out of here and crack my knuckles, fill my coffee cup up, and unpack the daily news. We act like a bunch of trash pandas rifling through the rubbish, separating fake news from fact. So join our chat room and we're going to hash it out together. By the way, one piece of breaking news, the economic information came in. I put it in the private chat and I think in the regular chat on your Rumble feed, Bob. The inflation numbers are much better and people are going, oh my God, this is significantly good.
Because they're being lied to. They're being gaslit into believing that, you know, that the affordability crisis is a crisis. We talked about this nonstop. It's just insane. So
positivity.
Brian, thanks for the info. Appreciate that. And thanks for being part of it. All right. There it is. We got it done. I still don't know what happened with the audio on the Tim Sarah McBride nonsense, but we got it done. We also, I failed to deliver on Dr. Piper. I do apologize for that. I don't know exactly what happened an hour ago, but we yesterday we had a tech problem with Peter Kirstenau. So, you know, maybe there are still tech problems and glitches in the wheel, but we'll get it fixed, and hopefully maybe talk to Dr. Piper tomorrow or next week or whatever the case might be. But for those who watched today, thank you for your attendance and your attention. Take a little bit of what we talked about here and into when the show ends, when I lock out here in a moment, watch the interview with Chloe Cole. It's eye-opening, it's disturbing, it's infuriating, and the fact that yesterday, like I said, over 200 Democrats voted and 4 Republicans voted to do that to more kids, like what was done to Chloe Cole and Prisha Mosley. It's indefensible. To everybody who was in the chat today, thank you. Appreciate you very much for being a part of that. Anybody who clicked the Rumble Rants and made a tip donation to the show to keep us going. Once again, remember, we are 100% Patriot funded now. 100%. No corporate sponsors. We are going to work on some sponsors joining the show who certainly appreciate what we do. But for now, we're solely Patriot funded. So anything you can do, you'll see in the description, all of the different places where you can leave some donations and tips, set up a monthly donation, and then forget about it. It is all appreciated. Also, we went from 300, I think, followers when I was never using this platform back on Monday to just under 900 now. So that's good. That's like tripling it after 4 shows, but we need to get up over 1,000 tomorrow. We need to get up around 1,200 by Monday, because the more we get, the more Rumble and YouTube push these videos and live streams out to others who are not getting them. So please make sure, like, follow, subscribe, and share. Like, follow, subscribe, and share. I feel like I'm going down the yellow brick road. Like, follow, subscribe, and share to get more people involved so we can make a bigger impact right here on Strictly Speaking Unfiltered with Bob France. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow, bright and early, 10 o'clock.